Hi, I'm Eva Murphy from Electronic Engineering at IT Sligo, and this is my Leaving Cert Maths Grinds channel. I'll regularly add new videos for both higher and ordinary level maths, so make sure you subscribe below and click the bell icon to be notified of new videos. Okay, 2018, question 9, so one of the longer questions on the paper. When earthquakes occur under the sea, they can cause large tidal waves called tsunamis. Scientists can estimate the arrival times of tsunamis to nearby countries. The average speed at which a tsunami travels is given by the formula S is equal to the square root of G by D, where S is the speed. So I'm just underlining the letters and what they mean in meters per second. D is the depth of the ocean in meters at the location where the earthquake occurred, and G is 9.8 meters per second. So G is always that value. It's what we call a constant. Find S, the speed of a tsunami when an earthquake occurs at a depth. So I'm going back to have a look at what letter did I call depth, and it was a D. A depth of 2,000 meters. Give your answer in meters per second. Okay, find S, the speed of the tsunami. Okay, so S is equal to the square root, where G is always fixed, and it is 9.8. By D, and my D is 2,000. Okay, so if I put the whole thing into my calculator, square root of 9.8 by 2,000, I am getting 140. And give your answer in meters per second. That's what my S is in, so meters per second. And you can write it out if you want, or shorthand, it's meters per second. Part 2. A tsunami has been identified as being 400 kilometers from land. The depth of the ocean is 2,000 meters. Find how long it will take this tsunami to reach land. Give your answer correct to the nearest minute. Well, minute implies time. I have distance. Okay. So anytime I see time and distance, I'm always thinking about Dad's silly triangle. Okay, which is the formula that links together distance, speed, and time. Okay, and how does this formula work? Well, if I need to calculate distance, I cover distance. Distance is equal to speed by time. Okay, they're on the same level, so they're multiplied by each other. If I need to calculate speed, that would be distance over time. Okay, because you can see the line in the middle. If I need to calculate time, it's distance over speed. So I always have that formula at the back of my head when I start to see questions about distance and speed, and I have speed up here and time. And it is indeed that. So you'd see that this depth is the same depth that's in this question. So the speed at that depth is 140. Okay, so I know that the speed at 2,000 meters is 140. Okay, and I need for how long will it take this tsunami to reach land? Okay, so I need to work out a time. So it's distance over speed. So my distance is 400 kilometers. My speed is 140 meters per second. Okay, now the reason I'm writing in my units here is because my units have to match. Okay, so when I do a calculation here, and if my speed is meters per second, then my time is going to be in seconds. Okay, but I can't really do a calculation that has kilometers and meters in it because they are different units. So the easier one to convert is to convert kilometers to meters. And that word kilo, it means 1,000. Okay. So 400 kilometers is the same as 400 with 3 zeros meters. Okay, so sometimes in these questions, especially wordy ones like this, if you write down the units, you can see what unit will my answer be in, and do I have a mismatch of units here? Okay, so now if I try my time, I have 400,000 meters over 140 meters per second. Okay, and that's better. My time will be in seconds. That's perfectly fine. And you can see meters and meters more or less cancel. So on my calculator, I'm doing 400,000 over 140. And I am getting time being equal to 2857.14 seconds. Okay, so I'm coming back to my question. I knew it said something about minutes. Okay, so time in minutes. Okay, you're asking yourself how many minutes in a second, and it's 60. So 2857.14 divided by 60 will give it to me in minutes. So it's 47.62 minutes. Okay, so that's it that's it in decimal, and it says give your answer correct to the nearest minute. Okay, well that will be 48 minutes. Okay, that was quite a hard question to link the speed here to the 2000 meters, so that's what made that particular question quite hard. So people actually struggled with part A on this, and quite unusual. The minimum amount of marks went for part A. I think if I remember right, it was 5 marks and 5 marks. Okay, rearrange the formula to give D in terms of G and S. Okay, so an important skill is to be able to rearrange formula. So S is equal to the square root of G by D. So rearrange the formula to give D in terms of. So I want D equals that. That's what the English means. Give D in terms of G and S. Okay, so to be able to get at this D, I have to strip away everything from around it. So I have to strip away the square root, strip away the G, and yeah, and that way I suppose isolate the D. So the first thing to get rid of is that square root sign. So the opposite of square root is squared. So you would end up squaring both sides. Okay, so on the left you would end up then with S squared, and on the left the square and the square root cancel, and that's what you wanted, that's why you did it, and you get G by D. Okay, and then to get D now on its own, it's not too bad. They're multiplied by each other, so therefore if you divide by what you don't want, you know it's going to cancel. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. So then you end up with S squared over G being equal to D, your depth. Okay, or of course you can write it the other way, it doesn't matter. So formula manipulation, again, an important little skill. So there was 5 marks for that again. There was 15 marks though for this part. So let's read this one. Hence or otherwise, find the depth, that was D, of the ocean at the place where an earthquake occurred if the resulting tsunami had a speed of 55 meters per second. So we have to find the depth. So we would like to know what D equals. And it did say hence, which means it's linked to the question just before it. And it's linked because we have rearranged that formula as such. Okay, remember G is a constant. So 55 squared over, what was that G value? 9.8. And it was equal to fraction button 55 squared over 9.8. So D was equal to 308.673 on my calculator. Give your answer correct to the nearest meter. 309 meters. Okay, so that was the hence. If you were lucky enough to be able to do formula manipulation and you had D for it, okay, we can't always do formula manipulation. So what was the otherwise? So when you see a question that says hence or otherwise, it means there's another way to do it. So if I could come over here and do the otherwise in red, okay, the otherwise was going back to the original formula. So S was equal to the square root of G by D, okay? So speed, 55, was equal to square root of G was the 9.8 by D. Okay, and sometimes people actually find it easier to do formula manipulation here, because watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the exact same steps I did here, but because I'm doing it with numbers and not letters, it doesn't feel as bad. So in other words, I'm going to square both sides to get rid of that square root sign, just like we did here. So that I get now all of a sudden S squared, 55 squared, being equal to 9.8D. Or in other words, S squared is equal to G, 9.8 by D. Okay, what am I going to do then? I'm going to divide both sides by 9.8. Doesn't matter if you've already worked out the 55 squared, and you can see they cancel. So now I have S squared, 55 squared, divided by G. So you're doing formula manipulation all the time if you're able to do these sums. Just for some reason, students find it easier to do it with numbers rather than the abstract letters. And not surprisingly, of course, I'm going to get the exact same answer for D. Okay, so whichever way you felt more comfortable with, going back to the original formula and doing it the way down, or using, if you were lucky enough to be able to do formula manipulation, being able to work it out that way.
If you are interested in technology or engineering, but are not doing higher level maths, why not consider our Level 7 in Electronic and Computer Engineering? This is a 3-year programme that looks at the design and development of embedded electronic systems. These are the medical devices that keeps us healthy, the consumer devices that keeps us entertained, or the controlled systems that keeps us safe on the road. You can then progress on to the Level 8 in electronics and self-driving technologies, and from there to the Masters.
Check out the link below for more information.